What's up, and welcome back to the greatest teacher of all time, where I, Quincy Dawson, interview teachers of color to highlight their philosophies, strategies, and personalities. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel or visit greatestteacherofalltime.com to help me sponsor more great teachers like Miss E. What's up, Miss E? How's it going?
Hey, it was going pretty good.
Yeah, thank you a ton for being here. You're doing some really cool things on Instagram in terms of like teaching and starting a whole school. So, of course, we got to talk about it. Yeah,
Thank you
so
for having me. Thank you for
yeah,
having me.
of course. So maybe starting off, right? So of course you started school and everything, but maybe before all that, you were a teacher and also a special ed teacher and an administrator too, right? Can you tell
Right.
me about those experiences or your journey in that field?
Yes. So I'll just back up just a little bit. So before coming into the public school system, I was actually a Head Start teacher as well as an administrator there. So I got my bachelor's degree after teaching for about 8 years in early education. I got my bachelor's degree in psychology because I was like, I am not going back to teaching. I am done with teaching. I thought I was going to be a counselor, and I thought I was just going to make a whole lot of money being a counselor because I already knew that teachers don't make what they should. So, but life said different. So after getting my master's degree in counseling, I came back into the education as a special education teacher. So it was really my idea that I would work a couple of years, maybe 2 years, the required 2 years in Texas, and then become a school counselor because I already had that background, mental health background, and did like case management, working with families in between teaching. So that didn't quite happen, but it was okay because I chose to work in special education. I really wanted to work in special education because I knew that I could teach the kids the way that they learn best. I didn't have a lot of, we have to go by this scope of sequence and these 2 weeks to teach this thing right here. But I could teach the kids where they're at and just really have a good relationship with the kids. I was a self-contained teacher. And then from there, again, I thought I would go back I thought I would do the counseling, but instead I decided to teach another year. And then at the end of that year, I was able to advance at a charter school as a special education administrator. So that was kind of my journey, how that happened.
Yeah, I mean, you've done a lot. And maybe just reading through your website, right? I like to think when teachers have problems, they think, okay, I'm going to move up to be a principal and make a real change, right?
Yeah,
Or I'm going to move up to an admin so I can make a real change for the district,
right.
right? You did all that, right? From the teacher to
Yes.
the admin, but you were still frustrated with the school system, right? What was going
Yes. Yeah, I think becoming an admin, it made me even more frustrated. It was my frustration with the school system. I can't say that it wasn't mostly the kids. Typically, it wasn't the kids. Now, I worked in a self-contained classroom. I worked in elementary, middle school, and high school. So that I had a lot of kids with behavior issues, and I mean, I'm like wrestling the kids, restraining them almost every day. So you would think that would have been enough to drive me out, but it really wasn't that. It was the teachers, not just the teachers, administrators. Whenever I worked when I worked at the charter school, when I was a special education coordinator, the special education program, it was just really unorganized. IEPs hadn't been completed in 2 years. And of course, they're supposed to be completed every year. So I had to just clean up a lot of mess. So with that, I had a lot of people who were used to not doing what they're supposed to do, not accommodating for the kids. Of course, if they didn't have updated accommodations anyway. So when I came in, I'm just like, hey, this is a law. We have to do this. And not only is it the law, but we're here to serve these kids. And I always told people, how would you feel if it was your child? What would you want for your child? Can we treat others the way we want to be treated? But I got a lot of backlash from that, trying to do the right thing, as well as being a teacher, trying to do the right thing. And I just felt like, this is I know that I'm not going to be able to be a principal because I speak up too much about what's right. Now, typically, I'm just like a laid back person, kind of quiet, but that's just that something about the mama bear comes out of me when I see kids who are not being treated correctly. And I cannot not say anything in those instances. And it made people, people call me, like they would say that I'm not a team player, but no, I am on the team of the kids. No, I'm speaking up for the kids. And sometimes as an administrator, as a principal, you can't always say what you want to say because you have the responsibility of the school, of your teachers, but you also have, superintendent and higher ups telling you what to do, what to say. So I just felt like I was just boxed in, and I felt like I still couldn't make the difference that I needed to, because I was just kind of, had to stay in that box.
Yeah, and man, that sucks how they say you're not a team player because you're not playing on the team of like the higher ups, right?
Right, right.
And it just makes you think that even working for a school, like you are still working at a job, at a business, at a company where like
Yes.
you have to obey the higher ups and you can't stir the pot too much, even if you are on the
Exactly.
side of the kids.
Exactly. That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I definitely understand your frustrations. And so with all this frustration, you went out and started your own school, Victory Private School, which you call a micro school over in Texas.
Yes.
First off, what is a micro school?
So a micro school, I call it a 21st century one-room schoolhouse. So where you have a mixed group of kids in the classroom. So I currently have kindergarten up to fourth grade, all in the same classroom. It gets the name micro school because it's definitely a smaller size. Most people I've seen don't have more than 10 to 12 kids max. We have 6 kids. So it's just really my version of, if I was the boss, this is how I would do it. So I'm able to teach those kids different levels. And I'm grateful for that special education background, because that's kind of how I flow. We have different kids at different age levels, well, different groups, I mean, different ability levels. So that's what I can do here for these kids. Some kids are learning to read, some kids know how to read, and I'm just really able to flow, just doing my thing, what I did in special education. Although these kids, they don't have special needs, but I'm still able to flow like I did in the special education classroom.
Yeah, I like that, and flowing and like catering students to their needs because you also call your school a Montessori, right?
Yes.
Why do you call it that specifically, and what does that mean?
Mhm. So with Montessori, they really believe in the hands-on approach. We're using number blocks, as the kids call them. We use hands-on. We could be painting. We could be doing a lot of the STEM. People are familiar with STEM, hands-on activities. So versus just reading about science in a book, we actually get hands-on, and we do those activities. So I'm a little bit different from Montessori, because I feel like under the Montessori, they feel like kids will just, if you just put those numbers on the floor, or just put those letters on the floor, they're just going to learn how to read. And some kids will, but some kids won't. So that's how I deviate from the Montessori approach, because some kids, all kids learn differently. So whereas we don't want to leave any kids behind, but so sometimes we just have to have that structured literacy approach to teach the kids how to read if they need that.
Yeah, and that's great. Remind me, what grade levels are your students?
They are kindergarten from fourth grade, and mostly that kindergarten to first grade level. So it's definitely very important that I teach them how to read and get those strong literacy skills.
Yeah, man. So that's so interesting. I think I want to talk to you a little more about because you're the only teacher there, correct?
Yes, correct.
How do you teach such a wide range of grade levels through one day or class period? Class period.
So we have centers. We have from the morning time, we do our circle time morning meeting. Even the bigger kids, we're all singing the days of the week. We're all singing the months, and then we break into, we have our reading and our writing block. And then they have a break. They go outside, they eat their snack, and they come back in and they do math. And then in the afternoon, that's when we do either our science or our social studies. So during that time, and we also have homeschool students as well. So those students, their parents bring in their assignments. So that helps a little bit because I'm just facilitating their learning and I'm helping them if they need it. And then the other kids, we have our routine, we're going to work on reading. And so if I have the students kind of, some kids are doing independent work and then I may be working one-on-one with a student. So they're kind of switching back and forth. Maybe they're on a online program while I'm working with the different kids.
Wow. Yeah, that takes like ultimate management and multitasking. You are definitely doing
Yes.
it.
Now
Yeah.
I can do it at 6, but I don't think, I think that's my limit.
Really? Okay, so 6 is like the magic healthy number for that?
With just me. Yes, probably. Yeah.
Okay, I see it. I see it. Maybe getting a little more specific about your school and what you actually do. Um, so you do have the background as a special ed teacher. How do you think
Yes.
that background goes with students that you're serving to? Because as you said before, like they don't specifically have any diagnosed special needs, but like
Right.
you do have the background to approach different things like that, right?
Yes, yes, I do. Now, I've had a couple of parents who have reached out to me before, probably higher functioning autistic children that are interested in enrolling. Now the one thing that I cannot do in this setting is behavior. If they have a strong behaviors, physical aggression, verbal aggression, I'm not able to do that. And so that's the one student I had to turn away. We tried it for a couple of weeks, but it was just disrupting everybody. And so I couldn't have him here. And it's not a matter of staffing. It's just a matter of he's not in the correct placement. So with the other kids, I have some kids who they do have a little bit of emotional, more so anxiety, I would say, because they came from public school and they weren't treated correctly by the teachers. So they'll come in and even to this day, they still talk about, oh, well, this is what Miss So-and-so did. And I have to tell them, well, you're in a safe place now. That's not going to happen here. So all day long, we're doing the social emotional learning as well as the academics, which is necessary. And with those kids, a lot of kids, well, some kids, because this is a transient place because it's the military here. So some kids they came from a different state where they didn't have to attend school until they were 6 or 7 years old. But you come to Texas and 5 years old is the grade where we start kindergarten here. So I had a couple of kids who maybe they were already 6, but they hadn't started kindergarten yet. So if they go to the public school, they're already a year behind. So I can work with those kids, and it's not a learning disability. It's just not, it's a lack of exposure. But I can differentiate the learning and I can help them, kind of bring them up to where they need to be.
Yeah, and I love that differentiating the learning for everyone specifically, right? With these 6 students. Man,
Right.
thinking back to my experience when I was doing high school physics, um, I would have like it would be a standard class, but maybe there'd be like 2 or 3 students with special needs, right?
You're right.
And they would you would do things where like, okay, I'm going to try to scaffold or differentiate for these students specifically.
Hmm.
But in doing that, it'd be like, wow, that is such a great idea. Let's have everybody do that. And so as a result, it wouldn't be differentiated anymore because it's a new, more accessible idea for everyone,
Right.
right? How do you approach things like that? Because I know you have like the full background with the full-on special ed teacher, but like with these students now, do you differentiate for everyone or do you like make things for the whole class or
So I make it for the whole class. It's pretty much project-based learning. Now for social studies and science, I really don't too much have to differentiate that. With math, they're okay. They're pretty much, although I have my kindergartners, they're pretty much working on the first grade level now. So they work with the first grader. And so for reading, that's the main place where I see where I really have to do the differentiation because some are working on letter sounds, some are working on reading, some already know how to read and they're working more on the comprehension piece. So that's where I really have to flow with those groups and where one student's doing one thing and then I come and I work with those students. So that's pretty much how I address that. And prior to starting my own school, I had my own business doing something different. And then I had to go back into teaching around COVID. And I actually worked at a high school. So I saw there were so many kids who they if they would have received the support that they needed, they wouldn't have had to continue to be in the special education program. And then at high school, as you know, they're about to go into the real world. There's no special education, special education post office. There's no special education fast food restaurant. You're just in the real world. And I found that those kids, they were not prepared because they kept them in special education when they really needed to be outside of special education. So that's why I really just I really have a heart for kids to help them learn how to read and to function in the real world. And that starts, it doesn't just start at high school. My daughter, she's a senior, and I'm trying to, I've been talking to her, and now she's like, oh, okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. Like, this is what I've been trying to tell you, work your way up to this. So it's really important to work with them and build those skills early on.
Yeah, definitely. And I could tell you are doing that exactly at your own school. Love it. One other thing I want to talk about is a video you made on Instagram, and the topic or the premise was, does the school system deserve a second chance? Right? Maybe before you actually get into answering the question, tell me the premise behind that. What do you mean by that? A second chance for the public school system?
Yes, well, like I said, I can kind of even relate that to myself. Like, before trying the public school system, okay, maybe I'll be a classroom teacher. Okay, well, now if I'm a school counselor, maybe I won't have the same issues. But it seems like it didn't matter if I went to a different school or a different school system, whether it's public school, private school, I mean, not private, but charter school, I still found some of those same issues that bothered me, not treating kids correctly or showing preferential treatment for this student versus another student. Typically those brown and black students that look like me, like, well, I'm just noticing, okay, you don't treat the other kids like that. So these are some things that I saw part of my battle when I was a teacher. And I wouldn't say it that way, but I would know internally, okay, this is a problem, So I saw that so a couple of parents, well, it's actually one parent that I have, so she tried public school, that didn't work. She said that her child was just not treated correctly, more not without going into detail, just more so than not treated correctly. And so she tried a charter school, hoping that would be better, but still child was not able to thrive in that setting. But I understand, as a parent, sometimes you don't feel like you have an option. Like, I've been teaching for 20 years, so for me, homeschooling, it wasn't an option. I had to work, so just trying to figure out why parents understanding that parents feel like they don't have a choice. So you keep going, you give them a chance. So now you go speak to the principal, maybe you take them to a different school. It's almost like it's an extreme example, but it really is like an abusive relationship. They say that whenever a woman or someone's in an abusive relationship, it usually takes 7 times for them to actually get out of the relationship and finally leave. But you go back, you come back, because you feel like it's going to be better, and you hope that it's going to be better, because this is what society tells us, that I send my kids to school, they're going to be taken care of emotionally, but they're also going to learn academically. And so parents, usually if parents have their child is dyslexic, or they have some sort of special needs, but not just that, sometimes behavior issues that are not addressed equally from what they would be with other kids, it's just like this cycle. So you get to the point to where, well, what do? If your child's in public school, if you can't afford private school and you work, so you can't homeschool, it's almost like you just don't even have a choice.
Yeah, I want to get into the importance of having choices in a second, but maybe before that, back to the original question, you as a mother, right? Also
Mhm.
someone who has their own school, and also saying that it takes most people 7 tries to actually be heard. Do you think the
Yeah.
school system deserves those 7 tries or even a second try? Or should it just be you messed up once, I'm out?
I feel like it should be, you messed up and you're out. Now,
These are
not
your
necessarily
children
one
you're
time,
talking
but
about. Yeah, these are your
yeah,
children you're
because
talking about, right?
Exactly. Like with my son, he was like a poster child for ADHD. I get that, you know, and this was prior to me working in the public school system. So I really didn't understand my rights. And I think that's one of the issues. Parents don't understand their right to advocate for their child. This is your child. I may be your teacher, or you may be sending them to school, but this is your child. So you can request meetings, or, you know, you can request, you can say, okay, I just don't think this is correct. So parents don't know how to address their concerns, I found a lot of times. And I didn't either as a parent. So my child from kindergarten, he was suspended, and he was some teachers, it really depended on the teacher, how the school year went for me and for him. They, you know, if they were willing to work with him, okay, and I told him, okay, you're going to have to give them some extra work, because he was very smart. So he finished the work, and then he's just kind of like, you know, doing things, you know, more so like the tapping, and not even bothering anyone else, but like tapping. Like that's just classic ADHD. You know, it's a lack of classroom management, which I know that word now. Back then, I knew, like, why can't they just address it? And now I know it's called classroom management. So, but I try to give it, you know, give a different teacher, different school, but still, I just didn't have any other alternative at that time. So I think it's more so they may not deserve a second chance, but what is the alternative?
Yep. So it is important that we do have alternatives, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
like it's important that we have Mercedes Benz, but also Toyota to choose from, right? It's,
exactly,
it's
exactly.
important that we have Androids and iPhones to choose from, right?
Right.
Can you tell me about the importance of having a specific school like yours, like Victory Private School? Why is that option important to have?
Yeah, I think it's important because it is that alternative. It is that alternative, but it is a high quality alternative. You know, we're not just babysitting here. You know, we're not just sitting around all day on you know, looking at YouTube or whatever. It is a high quality alternative. So it's a cross between kind of a blend of private school and homeschool, because again, I do offer that homeschool program. It's a hybrid. So the parents can choose to send their kids either 2 days or 3 days a week. So that's good for parents who maybe like to travel, or parents who they do want to teach their children at home maybe 2 to 3 days a week, but they work as well. So we have that option, but we also have the option for the full program where they come. You know, I provide the curriculum, I teach them, and you know, I communicate with the parents, and the parents know, okay, this is how they're doing each month, or this is what we need to work on. So it does offer that alternative. And even I feel like it's even more specialized than private schools, because most private schools, they're not going to, they may not even accept kids with certain special needs, you know. So it is that alternative where they can, hey, how does your kid learn? We'll work with them. We'll work with them on their learning style, and we'll just I'll just take all of them in, as many as I can. I'll take them in.
Yeah, I love that. I especially like how you said a high quality alternative, right?
Yes.
It's not just any school out there, but this is a quality school that you can have a choice to go to.
Yes.
Wow, this is great. Thank you so much for this, Miss E. I really learned a lot from this interview, and your school does sound like a great alternative.
Thank you. Thank you. I really try.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing it. And thanks to Transcendence Children Family Services, I want to present you with this $100 gift card for you to use with your students and your or yourself.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, you deserve it.
Thank you.
And also, with the support of Victorious RED Restoration, we'd like to actually sponsor your micro school with a little pizza party.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Yeah. So again, once all these cameras go off, I'll get your address and everything. We figure out how to get these pizzas and gift card to you.
All right.
Great. To everyone else, thank you for watching The Greatest Teacher of All Time, where I, Quincy Dawson, interview teachers of color, tied their personalities, strategies, and philosophies. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. And if you really liked it, leave a comment for me and Mrs. E to look at. Also, if you are the greatest teacher of all time, or if you know the greatest teacher of all time, go to greatesteacherofalltime.com and recommend a teacher by clicking on Submit a Teacher. Hope to see you soon.